Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer for Sports Illustrated, along with my assistant beat writer, the great Ezekiel Trezevant. Also, we host the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Good Monday to you. Hope everybody had a real good Mother's Day. Zeke, first of all, I know you got a great mother. Your wife is a great mother. I hope Mother's Day was great for you, my friend.
Yes, Mother's Day was great. Obviously the most important day of the year for each and every one of us. So, although it's past again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there for sure.
And I'm sure you enjoyed the piece we wrote yesterday on Max Crosby. Mother's Day is his favorite day of the year. I know people got to see a different side. They know Mad Max. We kind of got to introduce them to Max. I thought that was great yesterday as well. Let's get right into it. Rookie mini camp. I got a lot of observations. I'd like to start with you. What stood out to you?
Uh, don't get mad at me, Hondo, but Tommy Eichenberg was looking pretty good out there. But yeah, so Tommy looked good. Tommy looked fluid. That was the word that popped in my head when we looked at Tommy. Got to watch him a little bit, up close and personal on some individual drills, scoop and score drills, and he's got the movements. So I think he's gonna pan out well. Obviously, the guys are in helmets and shorts, right? There's only so much you can tell. I understand that, but there's also some other things that you can tell, right? And I will also say Jackson Powers, guard, offensive lineman. He's got some pop to him. He's got some pop to him, and they were only going at maybe a quarter speed, only maybe like half speed, and he still was steamrolling some people and getting some good pop to him. So a lot to be excited about with those draft picks.
Zeke, I was happy to hear AP just do what he usually does and just really tell the truth. This is elementary school. This isn't even like OTAs next week, guys. This is just we're barely introducing you. I love the way AP's handled this team, but he also said these guys are on the Raider property. They're Raiders. I'm going to treat them like that. Man, everything this guy touches turns to gold, doesn't it?
Yes, I agree. And that message you could see had trickled down throughout the coaching staff yesterday, right? You could tell that, hey, they wanted the best that the guys had, but they also understood, hey, this is day one. And they still have some ramping up of things to do. So you hit it right on the head. AP was very honest. He was very straightforward about where they were yesterday and what they were going to do. And you saw that on the field for sure.
I want to turn anything else that stood out to you?
The coaches themselves, the offensive line coaches, Craig. I think it was Philbin. He had a hat on as well, so I couldn't quite see, but I think it was Philbin. Those guys were vocal, very, very vocal, and obviously it was day one. It was rookies. I think they had a little bit to do with it, but they were very vocal all the way through the parts of practice that we got to see. So it was pretty interesting to say the least.
Zeke, I want to go back because Champ Kelly, Tom Telesco, and AP have all three confirmed some reports that we had that others kind of mocked us for. Let's start. After the draft, you were with me. We talked about the Raiders were stunned. They were shocked that Brock Bowers was there. There were, as you know, dude is a word in the NFL for a can't miss guy. And those are not a bunch of them in NFL drafts. There were three guys this year that universally among every team that I talked to, these are the dudes. Fawaga, Alt, Bowers. They were stunned he was there. Well, we reported it, and everyone goes, "Oh, there goes Hondo being the company man." But you heard AP say it. We were shocked. We didn't even think he was going to be there. I thought that was fascinating. I'd love your thoughts on that because you were in the building. You knew they were shocked.
Yeah, listen, so they were shocked, and I mean, honestly, I felt like we all were shocked. I think
I
a
was.
lot of us were. I think a lot of us were surprised that specifically that Brock dropped past the Jets. I was convinced he was going to go there, a good receiving threat for Aaron Rodgers, et cetera. So I think all of us were surprised. So I don't understand why people were questioning it. But to hear AP and Telesco, et cetera, go into detail about how they were surprised by it, I think it gave a lot of insight into why they selected him. They weren't expecting him to be there, right? They weren't expecting, I don't think, Penix to be gone when he was drafted. I don't think they were expecting Bowers to be there. So it put them in a position that they weren't necessarily expecting to be in. So once they all kind of confirmed it, I think it made it easier to understand why they picked Bowers.
And we kept saying they were not taking Bowers at 13. I mean, they were not taking Penix at 13. I understand that was the hype and it got a lot of people to click, But that was that they were not doing that. I mean, I was proud of you a lot, Zeke, and proud of our team how we covered the draft leading up to the draft. We didn't try to conject what we thought, although, dear God, you would have given you would have had a baby if they didn't pick a linebacker. But we didn't
Would have
try to
lost it.
conjecture. We
Right.
didn't try to do conjecture. We just reported what was going on, and I thought it was great reporting and all. And you were terrific. I thought our whole team was.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think what you saw again, in terms of what they did on draft day, I think all of us can admit that after the 6th or 7th pick, some of those picks kind of got a little wacky. Some things happened that none of us really saw happening. But it worked out in the Raiders' favor that they landed a talent like Brock Bowers. So it was unexpected, but it works out in their favor.
Now, Zeke, I touched on this yesterday, but I want to get into it today. I've never got on this before, but now that the draft over, I can. The best drafting teams have very small draft boards. And what I mean by that is, they don't have 1,000 players. They don't have 500 players. They've got a very small amount with grades. So if they're sitting there on round 6 or 7 and there's nobody left on their board, they're not going to just take somebody to take someone. They'll trade those picks. So I was talking to an NFL executive who said to me that this is probably one of the deepest drafts. His team is that way, like the Raiders are now. They make their board small under Telesco. That so did Ziegler. But he said we were sitting there in the 6th and 7th round with plenty of guys that had in the 6th, 4th round grades, and plenty of guys with 5 and low 4s in the 7. And you may remember we reported before the draft that this person had said probably at no time in NFL history was there more bad drafters, and it made the draft more deeper than what it was because there were so many good players. You heard Telesco after the draft saying, "Man, there were several guys in the 7th round we really wanted because they had those grades on them." As prolific and as much money as the NFL makes right now, Zeke, how can any team afford to be bad drafters? This is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it's for you to that's arguably the most important time of the year, if you ask me, is the draft and obviously free agency. And in the bigger issue is that usually if you are a bad drafting team, you're a bad drafting team for years and years. So it's not just a 1 year thing. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand how teams can allow that to happen for years on end, because that sets your franchise back even longer, right? If you draft bad for 5 years in a row, that's going to set you back what, 10, 15 years, right? Because you've been drafting bad for those 5 years. That's going to set you back another 5, 10 easy, I would imagine. So I don't know how teams do that. And I think it kind of speaks to where the Raiders are now under Telesco in terms of taking a very cool, calm, collected approach to their draft day. And you saw what happened with how good of a draft haul that they came home with.
So, Zeke, I want to talk about a couple of these guys. I'm going to grab some notes here. In the NFL, and the Raiders have this mentality as well, you want your 1st through 5th round guys to make the team. And then you hope your 6th and 7th round guys can make the practice. So if they're able to make the roster, it is a really big deal. Here's the problem. The Raiders have a very talented roster. There's a lot of really good players in this team. And when you start looking at 6th round Dylan Labe, they fully expect him to make the roster. Their expectation is that he makes the roster. Okay, Trey Taylor, I think the expectation is he makes the roster. MJ Devonshire, he's got a really good shot. The problem is they've got a lot of good players. So player-wise, Devonshire may be on the practice, and not because he's not a good player. I mean, let's be honest. Now, how old are you? Tell everybody.
35 in a couple of days.
Yeah. So the last 20 years of your life, you don't remember the Raiders being good. A couple of times, maybe a playoff, but not being good.
Yeah.
Is this the deepest Raider roster that you've seen? Or maybe are you like me? I think it has the potential to be very deep. We just got to see some of these young pups from last year and this year become dogs and grow up a little bit. But I think it has the potential to be a great roster.
On paper, it's got to be one of the deepest teams that they have fielded in the last 20 years in terms of, I mean, you go down and look in, Champ Kelly spoke about this. I think the way he worded it, excuse me if I worded it incorrectly, he said that they wanted to build out the roster vertically right? And then go across and do the same, right? So you want your first, second, third stringer at one position to be filled, then you go down the roster and go down the line. That's what the Raiders have done here on this year's roster. And I think it's going to lead to some talented people maybe getting cut, maybe not making the roster, whatever it may be, not because they're not good, but because the Raiders are so deep. They have so much depth on their team after all of the additions that they've made this offseason. So they have some things to prove, right? They got to go out there and prove it. They got to go out there and show it, make it through a whole season. But assuming that they all stay healthy, or most of them stay healthy, they have a productive season. I think if you go back over the last 10, 20 years of Raiders rosters, you'd be hard-pressed to find a roster as deep as this one, for sure.
So we had on for 2 days last week, Coach Tom Walsh, Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, assistant coach, longtime Raider assistant. I mean, guy was in the NFL 40 years. And I shared with him that one of the best defensive minds who doesn't have the Raiders on his schedule this year. So the only way, that he could face them would be potentially in a playoff, potentially. And Shannon and I asked him at dinner, what do you think about this Raiders offense? And he said if they're able to get Mayer and Bowers engaged with a 12 personnel, their offense is unstoppable. He told me, as a defensive coordinator, the worst offense to face is the 12 with two talented athletic tight ends. He says you just don't ever see it much. And he said, haven't seen it since Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. Let's talk about that and how deadly, because they talked a lot about it at rookie camp. How deadly can this 12 offense be?
Oh, man. I mean, think of all the possibilities, right? And that's just focusing on, obviously, Mayer and Bowers, just those two alone. But the thing about, okay, if you start to get Zamir White in the running game going, right? Imagine if you start to kind of feed off of that in the play action game and start getting the ball out to Devontae and to Jacoby and Gallup, and you just go down the list. The reason the word unstoppable was used is because they have so many different options that they can do, that they can use against the defense. But it will all start with the tight ends, right? Like you said, that Bowers talked about it a decent amount. Bowers doesn't really talk too much. He just wants the ball. That's another thing. Bowers just wants to go play football. But he talked about it a little bit yesterday about how excited he is to work with Mayer. And then AP spoke about it as well, just from him being a player, his playing days, how difficult it is to stop that formation. And it's difficult to stop it, if you have one tight end and a kind of sort of talented, second tight end. The Raiders have two of the best tight ends to come into the league in the last 10 years, easy, on the same roster. So they're set up for success. Now it's about execution.
I said this last year. The Raiders thought Mayer was the number one tight end in the draft. That's why they were trying to get back in the first round, ended up getting him in the second. And I think as good as Mayer is, and I'm not going to pretend I wasn't. I'm a buyer on Mayer. Bowers is exponentially even better than him. I mean, I think the Raiders are set. All right, I want to talk to you because I think it's really, really important to dig into this. But the Raiders, the way that they're setting this up, Zamir White, you wrote an article that took immense criticism, and I felt bad for you because they didn't read it, where you talked about potential trades. And the problem is, neither one of us thinks they're trading Trey Tucker.
Yeah,
you
no.
and I both believe Trey is the number 3 guy next year. The issue is there is so much talent. They are going to cut players this year, Zeke, who are going to make 53-man rosters next year on other teams. We saw that last year, and I reported that. So if anyone says, well, you said that last year. Yep, I did. And remember McClendon Curtis, who went and made a 53-man roster, and some other guys. There's a lot more this year. They're going to have to look at trades as they get through OTAs and early in minicamp when they say, okay, now wait a minute. If we're only keeping 3 running backs, Madison, Labe, Zamir, or do they keep a 4th and keep Amir? Now, I'm not advocating the trading of Amir Abdullah. I like him a lot, and I know that you do as well.
Yeah.
My point is they're going to get to a place where they're going to have to cut good players. Zeke, I don't care what anyone says. You have to credit Tom Telesco for what he did. And let's go back to Ziegler and Champ, and then Champ after Ziegler was fired and into Tom. It has been continuity of building. What a great job. Talk about that, would you, brother?
Yeah, continuity is definitely the word, right? They have had a plan and they have stuck to it. And depth was the main thing that they wanted to attack. And I think sometimes people forget that the other side of having a deep roster is, like you said, that means people are going to get cut. Talented players are going to get cut. It doesn't mean that you don't like them. It doesn't mean that you don't, think that they're a good addition to the team. It doesn't mean any of that. It's just logistics. And what that also does is it gives that player a chance to go get on the field elsewhere, or maybe to go get another contract elsewhere, because they wouldn't have had that opportunity third or fourth on the depth chart here in Las Vegas, right? So I think there's different sides to it that people have to keep in mind. It's not a bad thing that, obviously you don't want to cut players. Nobody wants to get cut. But when you're 2-3 deep at most positions, that pushes somebody off the chart. And this is what I'll tell you. Speaking of Labe, saw him yesterday too. That man has some wiggle to him. Wiggle's the word for Labe. Okay, he's got some wiggle to him. So once he figures things out, like I don't see how you take him off in terms of your running backs. I don't see how you don't have him on the roster. So yeah, that in terms of where the Raiders are, they have enough depth at most of their positions that somebody might get put down to the practice squad or cut or traded, and that's a decision that Tom's going to have to make. But it's the other side of filling out the roster, right? That the positive is you got more depth. The negative is somebody is going to have to go.
Someone in the Raiders organization said to me on Saturday, I got a message on Saturday, that Labe reminds them of little Joe Morris. You're probably a little too young to remember him from the New York G-Men, but do you remember Joe Morris?
No, listen, I hold on. I don't remember him, but is he like one of their top I feel like I saw that name before. Is he like one of their best running backs ever, Morris, or no?
Hold on, your internet was breaking. Try it again. What?
Yes, sir. I was just going to ask. I'm not familiar with Joe Morris. I feel like that was a little bit before my time. But if I'm not mistaken, was he one of the top 5 running backs in Giants history? Like, isn't he one of their leading all-time rushers? If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong.
Yeah, and he's little teeny. He's like a little Smurf, like Labe.
Yeah, really.
But he just little. Now, I want to make this very clear. You and I are in no way equating Dylan Labe to Barry Sanders. Okay, that would be stupid, ignorant, and an insult to our fans. But he's kind of a poor man's Barry. That shake, that wiggle, he'll turn sideways to get through a hole. Again, none of us is even saying he can carry Barry's jock, but he's got a little bit of that in him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he listen, he definitely reminds you, in terms of how quick he can stop it and change directions. There's a couple times yesterday where I kind of turned my head for a second, and then you know how you can kind of see things moving in your peripherals. I saw something moving in my peripherals, and I look over, it's Labe making cuts. I'm like, where is this guy going? So yes, he's definitely got some moves to him, in terms of how quickly he can break in and out of his cuts, and I think he's going to be a nice addition for sure.
Let's talk about Richardson, DeCamerion.
Mhm.
They were so excited to get this kid. I mean, they are high on him. I know they got a lot of criticism for the pick, but it doesn't matter what media think or people who don't do this for a living. I heard a lot of praise around the league about him, and they love him. Talk about DeCamerion.
Low risk, high reward. I think that's the first thing that comes to mind for him. First of all, the Raiders, they needed what he brings to the table in terms of position, and then in terms of his physical build. When we were doing the presser yesterday and doing the interviews, that man, his arms are long. Like, I didn't realize they were that long, right? Like, he almost reminds me, and it's a little bit different, right? We're not making that comparison, but he reminds me of Tayshaun Prince. I don't know if you remember how long Tayshaun Prince's
Of
arms
course.
were. Yeah, like they were ridiculously long. That's who he reminded me of. You get a cornerback that has the height that he has, the length that he has, and then you have 2 years of starting at cornerback in the SEC. You can't coach those things, right? You can coach a lot of different things. You can't coach height, you can't coach length, you can't coach experience. And I think that's what he brings to the table. You give him some time in this defense, some time underneath Patrick Graham, and you're going to see some good things come from him for sure.
Don Shula told me, you know who he is, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Don Shula told me one time, you can't coach the things that God gives.
It's true. It's true. You can go to the weight room, get bigger. You can even maybe get a little bit faster. Not likely, but you can even get a little bit faster. But in terms of physical build, height, length, things of that nature, that's God given.
Right. So let's go to a different angle. You are a lifelong Raider fan. You love the Raiders. Even though you worked for the actual Bolts organization, you are a Raider fan. Been a Raider fan your whole life. Nothing wrong with that. I love the idea. Now, it is horribly inconvenient for you and I, but who cares? This isn't about us. I think it was the best move for the organization to take training camp to Costa Mesa. Your thoughts?
Agreed. So it has a couple of different positives, if you ask me. Some that people may, notice right off the bat, some that they may not. But I think for this Raiders team, for where they are, a lot of the things that they're doing this year are new, right? You got new players being added, new general manager. Why not do something new for training camp as well, right? I think it's just going to help, like AP said yesterday, help them bond, right? You got a whole different change of scenery, change of environment. Things, when you start doing the same thing every day, same facility, same food, same people, same time, there's only so much growth that can happen in that situation. I think getting out of the comforts of home, going out to Costa Mesa is going to help the team out. And then obviously you have the fact that they're back in California, back, just south of Los Angeles, so much closer to most of the Raiders fans that are out there. It's going to be huge for a lot of different reasons for this team. Makes a lot of sense to me. And I think they're going to reap the benefits of making this decision. Maybe this is what helps them get off to a better start than what they got off to last year. So
I have a friend from Cali who made a song up. He called me and all he put on my voice was, we're going back to Cali. He just kept saying it over and over. I'm like, all right, give it a rest. I get it. So credit to my buddy Armando for making that up. But so that should be a Raider theme, going back to Cali.
That would be cool. Yeah, that's going to be good to see. Like seeing them back out in California. Maybe that'll be one of the songs that they play, obviously over the loudspeaker. Maybe that'll be something that they do while they're out there. That would be pretty cool.
Is that an actual song?
Oh yeah, listen, that's LL Cool J. It's listen, I love
the NCIS
song.
guy. The NCIS guy. The NCIS guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a singer. He's a singer.
Hey, he's one of the greatest rappers, musicians. I think he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. So he's one of the best to ever do it. LL, yes, sir. So I love that song, Going Back to Cali. It's got a great video, which Paul just put me on. Paul Gutierrez, he just put me on a couple of weeks ago. So it's a great song.
What is it? Which one?
Going Back to Cali, LL Cool J. It's a great, I think it's a black and white video from like 1980 something or early 90s. So yeah, check it out when you have some time.
Thank God to Paul. He's always bringing pop culture to me.
Yes. I didn't even know about anything about the video until he told me. And then I went and I watched it and I'm like, pretty cool video. Definitely explains California for you.
I love Paul, but my wife can't stand it. Every time I'm around him, I'm buying more shoes.
So Paul is to blame for the shoe addiction.
I know. He has totally taken me and Q Myers and just wrecked us.
Yes,
all right.
Sir.
Now, are you going to be wearing your Air Force Ones at minicamp?
Yes. Yes, 100%. Now, this is the only thing, though, Hondo. Only thing is that if it's too hot, I won't. And I'll tell you why. Because the Air Force that I have, those are perfect for pants. If you rock those with shorts, you look a little iffy. But as long as it's not too hot and I can rock my pants and it looks good, I got you. I'm gonna be there for sure.
So wait. When I put a picture of me in my Air Force Ones, I had white socks and I got ridiculed. But did I also get ridiculed because I had shorts on?
No, I think no. Yours was specifically the white socks. I think everyone was so caught up on the white socks, nobody was paying attention to the shorts. But yeah, no, nobody was paying attention to your shorts. You're good. It was more so the white socks.
Okay, so I'm not wearing them. I wore them the day I got them, and then I wore them to put up to show a picture of me with the black socks that Shannon got me. I'm not wearing them till games. I will only wear them for regular season and playoff games. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I got a good 20 years in my career, and they're going to last me.
Oh, yeah. You're good to go.
All right. Just making sure I'm going to hold you accountable. Now, one thing I like is in Costa Mesa, it's much cooler than in Vegas. That's going to be a big blessing.
Yeah. Very much so. No more 100-degree days. I mean, that's putting it light, right? Summer in Vegas. No more 110-degree days and standing out there drenched in sweat. So yes, the cooler weather is going to go a long way.
How many times were you and I standing next to each other last year on the sidelines? I mean, it's a 9 a.m. practice or 10 or whatever. And we were both just drenched in sweat. It was horrible.
first thing in the morning. It's like, why is it this hot so early in the morning? So yeah, obviously out in Costa Mesa, you won't have to worry about that nearly as much.
When I first moved to Vegas, my neighbors would come over in the morning because they smelled sausage and they thought my wife had made biscuits and gravy. And it was just me sweating. Moving from the Midwest, I was like, "Ugh." All right,
It's yes, sir.
back on track real quick. What rookie, take Bowers out, what rookie is going to have the biggest impact on the Raiders in 2024?
You're asking me who it is? Okay, I didn't know if there was more to your question. Gotcha. Jackson Powers. Listen, that man is about to deliver. I don't know what it is. I just picked up on the vibes. And actually, I do know what it is. When they were running the drills yesterday, it seemed like, so basically, obviously, they're rookies. So sometimes you have to explain the drills to them. I don't think they had to explain any of the drills to him one time that I can really recall, or even in the smallest way. And then just the way he made contact. A lot of people talk about liking the violent part of football. This man is violent. I can tell just from watching him go 10% speed. I can only imagine what's going to happen when he goes 100%, or in year 2 or year 3 as he starts to develop. That's what I'm really excited about with him. Give him 2 off seasons in the NFL where he's just lifting weights all the time, full NFL regimen. I think he's going to be special. I think he's going to make the biggest impact the soonest.
I agree with you, by the way. All right, I'm going to give you a bigger question. What rookie from 2024 is going to have the biggest impact this year?
The biggest rookie. So the biggest rookie from last year, you're saying?
So think about it. Aiden. I think Aiden's going to have a big year, but let's take Aiden out of it because he's a quarterback. Jacorian Bennett. I mean, listen, everybody in the building is talking about Jacorian and getting his confidence back. And Tyree isn't the same kid. Your thoughts? Who do you think it's going to be out of all of them?
So out of all of them, and I'm hoping that he makes me look good on this prediction, I think it's going to be Tyree. Okay. That doesn't mean that Jacorian won't improve, because I think he will. But at the same time, he's got a lot of competition right there, right? In terms of his position group. I think Tyree, he's grown. B, he's had some time. He's not coming into this season coming off of an injury like he was last year. So he's going to be a lot more up to speed. And honestly, he might not admit it because he's such a nice guy, but I think he's a little ticked off by how last season started off. I think that motivates him. I think that angers him. And I think this year, I would hope this year, he uses that to motivate him to have a strong 17-game season instead of a strong second half.
Now, our buddy Paul Gutierrez of ESPN did not write this, but someone at ESPN wrote about how Tyree had a very disappointing season. And I literally wanted to say to them, why don't you talk to Paul? I mean, the Raiders knew he was going to be injured. They knew he was going to miss most of camp. They knew he wasn't going to be 100% till probably the end of the year. If that guy was disappointed, fine, but the Raiders weren't. We saw how he came on. I think this is going to, I mean, him from the inside, he'll slide out and get some outside. Katie bar the door with this guy.
Yeah, so I'll also point out, right, you just mentioned how the Raiders had a plan, and the plan was, hey, they knew Tyree wasn't going to be healthy for most of last season. Let's keep in mind that Chandler Jones was supposed to be your defensive end, and when he unexpectedly was no longer there, now you have to speed up the entire plan that you had for Tyree. And when you're talking about a lower leg injury on a guy that's the size of Tyree Wilson, that's going to slow him down, right? Like, not to mention that you got to get into game shape. He had never played. There's so many different things that give him legitimate reasons for why he started off so slow. So I think this year, I think people are going to see what happens when he's got everything behind him, right? A full offseason, not injured, not unexpectedly having to play way too soon. This is his time. And I think Tyree wants to make the Raiders look good for selecting him so high.
All right. Are you ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Marco Y emails in. Hondo, you're always laughing at Zeke when he talks about being a former defensive end. I don't know how big you are, but I've seen you in a lot of pictures and you're always towering over everyone. I actually saw you doing a video with Colton Miller and it looked like you were even taller than Colton. So here's my question. Can you get a picture of Zeke sitting next to Tyree Wilson? To me, this would just be hilarious. And every time he's on the podcast and talks about being a defensive end, I
Just show
would
the
love
picture.
for you to show that picture.
No, man, listen. If you do that, you got to do it. Listen, Max is a big dude, but Max isn't as big as Tyree. Do that. Take the picture with Max. Tyree, I don't think people realize how big of a human being Tyree Wilson is. I don't think he's huge. He's huge in terms of a physical specimen. So listen, if you do that picture, let's use another defensive end. Let's use Max, and maybe I'll look a little bit more proportionate, just a little bit.
Oh, man, that's a lot of fun. All right. Last question. I do not believe that everybody who's going to make the 53-man roster is on this team yet. I know they're very deep. I think there are a couple places they would like to upgrade. I know they're still open to a particular trade. And I just know that they've got their eyes watching on a couple position groups to see. Am I right or wrong? Do you think everybody who's going to make the 53 is on the roster right now?
No, sir. I think they're going to make a few more additions one way or the other. I fully expect that. Honestly, I don't even think that if they go between now and week 1 and they don't add one more person somewhere somehow, I would be shocked. I would be very, very shocked, honestly. So to answer your question quickly, no, I do not. I think there's going to be some additions made sometime during the rest of the offseason.
All right, Zeke, let's get excited for a minute. The next time you're on the show, we will have the NFL schedule.
Yes.
We will make our way too early predictions. What do you think of that, my friend?
I'm excited. I can't wait.
I can hardly wait. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to give my predictions. You'll give your predictions. We're going to see how it goes. But I think this is going to be a great year for Raider Nation.
I agree. I think it's going to be a much better year than last year. They got a lot more things working in their favor than they did last season. And I think a lot of these guys are motivated. A lot of these guys are hungry. They haven't forgot what they went through last season. And I think that's pushing them. That's motivating them this offseason.
We have talked a lot with AP, Telesco players this offseason. To me, what has been fascinating, and you may disagree, and you're welcome to on this program, they have not only maintained the enthusiasm of last season, they have increased it, and it's gone from faith to expectation now. They expect good things to happen. AP and Tom Telesco have masterfully handled the offseason. And I'm not even a fan. You are, and I'm excited just because of the to be able to cover a team that I think is going to be in can win every game. I don't think they're going to,
right,
but they're going to be able to be good enough to beat every team on their schedule. I think they're going to be improved. I'll say right now, I don't think they're winning the AFC West, and I don't think they're going to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But they're going to be improved. They're going to be better. They're going to be able to beat every team on their schedule. What they have done, bringing this team along, and how young it is, the turnover on the roster, they're young. I got nothing but good stuff to say about this offseason. Your thoughts?
I agree with you in terms of the overall offseason. I think the biggest reason, and one of the biggest reasons why they've been able to keep that excitement is because they kept AP. Let me say that. So I think had they brought in a new coach, I'm not going to say that they would have been less excited. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think it would have been like it is right now, right? I think that they're excited for the continuity, right? If you remember, Max talked about it a couple times when they were trying to decide on coach. He was like, hey, I've had a bunch of different coaches in my 5-6 years here. I want some continuity, right? So I think between them finally having a coach that they believe in, they have a GM. So when they had Josh McDaniels and they had Ziegler, these guys know, right? These guys know when the front office is fully putting the best foot forward behind them in terms of building out the roster, giving the best chance to win. They didn't necessarily have that. And I think that they feel like they have that now. The players feel like they have a GM and a coach that's going to put them in the best position to win by filling out the roster, by calling the right plays, right, on the field. So I think that they're so excited because they fully believe in their GM, in their coach, which I don't think was the case beforehand. So the reason, though, that they believe in their coach is because of what he did last year. The reason they believe in the GM is because of what he has done this offseason. So I think that just all permeates to the excitement that they have. And expectation is definitely the right word. That doesn't mean that they're going to go 17-0. That doesn't mean any of that. But they expect to be better than they were last year. And I think they're going to prove that.
All right, now let's stay on this vein because this is super important and very important. Is now that it's been publicly talked about, I can address it. I was told by a Raider player, and I deleted the message, or I'd read it to you. But basically, the Falcons go get Penix and tell Cousins at the last second, and they had a full conversation with Michael Mayer. Hey, you're our guy. We love you. Us picking Bowers isn't giving up on you. It's going to make you better. And they just talked about how Telesco and how AP handled it. I mean, I thought Champ Kelly, you were on the press conference with me with Champ Kelly the other day. I mean, how classy. I checked my ego at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Telesco wanted me with open arms,
Mm-hmm.
and we got a great team. I mean, I thought Champ was brilliant in his press conference. Again, just the way they handle it.
Yeah, so when it came to Champ, listen, man, in terms of a potentially awkward situation, I mean, think about it. Champ, he's been waiting for that GM opportunity his whole career. He's earned it, not just waiting on it. He earned it. And to get the interim GM job, only to be told that no, you're not getting the full-time GM job. We're actually going to put you back at the same position you had before. That can be demoralizing. And then to have to sit in the same room with the guy that got the job, that could be so awkward for any human being. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what color you are. That's awkward, right? You have the job that I wanted, and now I got to help you do that job. That could be awkward. But for a person like Champ Kelly, like he said, the words he used was he checked his ego at the door because he wanted to put the team first. And I think that speaks to him as a person. And it speaks to the whole organization in terms of where they are and where they stand. Because, you know, Tom Telesco, Champ, they've talked about how they wanted high character players on the team. Well, now they have high character, well, they've always had high character people in the front office, you know, in terms of Champ being there. So I think it speaks to from the top down how seriously they consider your character. And Champ, man, it was a pleasure really talking to him and getting some insight from him and listening to him speak. Very well-spoken man, very intellectual guy. And I like the fact that he gave the credit to so many other people, right? In terms of the scouts, et cetera, at the time. I like how he gave the credit out to other people. So they're in good hands from the top down in terms of the Raiders, for sure.
All right. Before we go, it would be unfair of me to not give some credit to Zeke. And a year ago, I hired him, and because I thought he was good, and I thought he needed an opportunity to show everybody how good he was, and he's done nothing but make us at Sports Illustrated proud. And you guys need to know now, he is the assistant beat writer with the Vegas Raiders. He always has been. That's not going to change. But he's now a staff NFL writer, writing about other NFL topics at Sports Illustrated and covering college football and basketball at a staff status, not as a beat guy. His first focus is the Raiders. But that is a true testament to him, to his talent, to his ability. And I think you would agree. Maybe you wouldn't. I've been your biggest fan since I met you. I believe in this young man. Tremendous journalist, a better guy. I am so proud of you on how you've been with this team. I love working for a company that recognizes how well you're doing. And Zeke, it would be unfair of me to not publicly congratulate you for how awesome of a job you're doing. You've just made everybody proud.
Hey, listen, thank you. More than anything, thank you for two things. Thank you for the opportunity. It doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. If you don't get an opportunity to show it, it doesn't matter. So thank you for the opportunity. And bigger than that, for me, Hondo, from me to you, thank you for believing in me. Man, I've been, you know, I'm a winner in life, but I've been doubted almost every step of the way, man. And a lot of times all I want is just somebody to believe in me. And I thank you for believing in me. And my only goal, man, is just to make you proud. It's like a high draft pick, right? You want to come in and make the team proud, and make the team look good for selecting me, for picking me. And I just want to make you proud for picking me, man. So thank you for that. Thank you for your patience, because I've had to grow, right? It wasn't always easy. Literally, it's like a player, right? I was like a rookie almost, you know, coming into the league, and I had to grow. I needed some patience from the person that was, you know, teaching me, which was you. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your continued patience as I continue to grow. And man, I'm just looking forward to getting better. That's all I want to do. I just want to get better and get better and get better. So thank you for that,
Well,
man. Thank you for
if
the
you get
opportunity.
better, you're going to be taking my job. So because
Oh,
you're that good.
no. I just want to get better at what I do and learn all I can from you. That's what I want to do, man. So, but again, more than anything, Hondo, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for believing in me, man, because those two things mean the world to me.
Well, I believe the world. I'm going to say this to you, though. You said one thing I want to correct, and I'm pretty much 20 years your senior. I'm old enough to be your dad, and obviously I'm not. You have a tremendous dad. I'm not trying to imply that, but you said you just want to make me proud. And I just want to say this to you. You're a tremendous father. You're a great son, and you're a terrific husband. You're also an exceptional writer. And the thing that I love about you personally is there's no article you can write that will make me more proud or less proud of you. My pride isn't in what you do, although I'm very proud of you for being good. My pride in you is because of your character, because of the man you are. And I just want you to know that I believe in you, and I don't care. I know people are going to make fun of this, but you know how I mean it. I love you. And I love that we've become great friends. And I just want you to know, I tip of my hat to you. You've earned every advance. There's more coming. And I just publicly wanted to tell you that. Sometimes it's good to have people tell you that, and you know they mean it.
Yeah, and thank you again, man. Thank you for saying that publicly. And again, just thank you for everything. Hey, and I love you too. Let me say that back to you. I love you too, man. And again, I value our friendship and our relationship, man. So thank you so much, man. I really don't have the words to express how thankful and how grateful I am for where you've helped get me to. And I look forward to keeping this going, man. I look forward to it.
Well, and we know what's coming. We're not sharing it publicly, but we know there's even more coming for you. That's why it's exciting. All right, everybody. Great Monday to you. Zeke, hold on the line. I want to talk to you. You
Okay.
are listening to the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. I'm your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer for Sports Illustrated, Hondo Carpenter. This is my assistant beat writer, NFL staff writer, college football and basketball writer for SI, the great Zeke Trezevant. Zeke, tell them how to find you on social media.
Yes, on X slash Twitter, my handle is EZ and then my last name Trezevant. So EZ T as in Tom, REZ as in zebra, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom.
Awesome. You can find me on IG at Hondo SR and on X, formerly known as Twitter, when you go to at Hondo Carpenter. Don't forget, catch out all of Zeke and I's articles and our entire team. Guys, I want to go back and tell you this. Over the last several days, we've produced double digits Raider written content. Nobody is competing with us. In fact, you can take several of our competitors and put them together, and they're not even producing the amount of content we produce every single day, 100% free. Check out all the stories when you go to si.com/NFL/Raiders.